Okay, so let's talk about this Alter Sleeves product, okay? I think it's pretty interesting, actually. So they sent me this stuff to look at. They had a big Kickstarter, but I was really busy. I wasn't able to do a review during the Kickstarter, so these were just sitting on my desk, okay? And I had a friend come over, and he picked one of them up. And he was like, wow, this is really cool, and he was really into it, right? And so because of that, I wanted to review them. Okay, now, but he didn't pick up these first. These are the tokens. Now, the way the tokens work is you have a human card here, and then you put a sleeve over it, and it turns it into something else. Now, I think this really fits with the brand style, but I'm not really that into it. I think it's got like, I don't know what you'd call it, like Art Deco or something. I'm not an art historian. But I just kind of don't like the look, and while, you know, different people have different tastes, I think some tastes are more universal. So I just don't think that this human looks very appealing, right? Now imagine if you had like a, kind of like a photorealistic human here with a very generic background, and then let's say you wanted to turn it into an elf, then you would like slide this over it, and it would give the human long ears and a little bow strap to its back and some trees in the background. That'd be kind of cool. And I think it would really fit with the style of kind of like transforming by putting on sleeves. This is okay, but I also don't think it's that important because I don't think that tokens is really the main part of the business, right? The main part of the business is altering real Magic cards like this. Now, this is a type that they had done, which is to completely change the art. Now, the thing that I don't like about that is that when you completely change the art like this, it's no longer legal, okay? So you can't use this at a tournament. The other thing that kind of is tough about an altar like this is when you've got a bright spot in the center like that, like the center of this ring, and then you put something semi-opaque over it. I don't know if you could tell, but you can still see the art behind it there, right? It's too, like this art is too bright for this dark background with that little spot there. So you can still see that ring. See the ring? Follow it with your eyes. And you can still see the ring, right? So when you print something this white, this is really bright, and then you put it on an art that's kind of dark, it doesn't work so well because I can still see that soul ring right there. So this is really not my jam. Now, when my friend picked up something and said that it was awesome, it was this. And I can see why he said that because this is awesome, right? It looks really good. So I think that this is a really good idea for a product. I mean, really impressive idea. And that's why people like the Kickstarter, I think, because, you know, inherently when you look at this, you think, that is very smart. That is a well-designed concept. Now, let's talk about improvements, okay? Because this is not just a Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter's closed now, they're not taking new orders, but they want to be a company long-term and kind of sell these things. They have a passion for it, right? So if you're going to sell something long-term, then there's no reason why you can't make some improvements, and that's why we're here today. So if you look like this, it becomes way obvious that something's going on, right? And the problem is you can get glare at a lot of different angles that make your altar look less awesome. Now, when I alter cards with paint, what I do is I would paint the outside like this, right? And then your paint has a matte finish, but the card itself is glossy, just like that. And so what happens is that your altar at certain angles kind of sticks out and looks less nice. And I think that the same thing is happening to this because the sleeve is even more glossy and the printing is very matte. So they could either buy sleeves or produce sleeves that have a matte finish here, or they could print them out just like this with the same process and then apply the matte finish spray or however they want to apply it at the end. And then you won't get any glare. And your art will always look like this, which I think this looks very good. And I think, you know, that would be a very nice product improvement that I think would look awesome. Now, the next thing is that different Magic cards from different sets, you don't really notice it, but they can be shifted like 0.25 millimeters one way or another as they're slightly altering the frame. And so what happens is if you took this one where the art is really riding the edge of this box here, you can see edge of the box, you push it up, it's right around the edge. I mean, their tolerances are really nice, but the problem is when I put in a card from another set, it might be slightly off and look kind of not awesome. So what I think that they should do is that they should take the art and bring it in by half a millimeter, a full millimeter, so that no matter which card I put in here, it'll always have the edge of the art be the edge instead of having like it look shifted like if I were like this. You see how it looks not awesome around that artifact box? If they had the art more inwards, then it would be harder for slight changes in the layout to make any difference. So that's another suggestion that I would suggest to improve the quality of the product. The other thing is that the quality of this product can only be as good as the art that they're printing on it. And so let me bring it in real close here. Let's get real granular, because this thing has a really short focus range, okay? So when we look at this thing, it just doesn't look that awesome. And it's more apparent to the naked eye, I think, than with this sort of thing. And they say that when you're doing art, you should make the things in the background blurry, like it is now, and things in the foreground sharp. And that kind of guides the eye to where you should be looking. However, when we look at the foreground of this card as well, you can't really say, oh, this is a flower, this is a flower, this is a flower. It's more like a palette of colors that make you think of flowers, but they're actually no flowers that are drawn in there. And my problem with that is that I just think that the art quality is not quite high enough, especially on this one in particular. Now, there are pieces that have been commissioned that I see on their website that have very low art quality, like it looks pretty bad. And that's something that Alter Sleeves needs to get a hold of, I feel, because they've got such a good idea here. What they need is their art director to just be a little bit tougher. The problem is with these passion projects, when someone hands you something and you've been working on a project like this, you're so excited to see progress. You have to remember these are just some dudes and some girls or whatever, and you know, this might be their first time running a business, so it's hard to be tough on people, you know? And I just feel like this art looks good initially, but when my friend looked at it, he picked it up and he said it was awesome and he was really into it, and then the more he looked, the more disappointed he got, and he didn't like the glare just as I didn't like the glare before he showed up. So I like that my friend just happened to pick these up off my desk and start giving opinions, not even knowing that I had gotten them as a review type thing. Now the thing is that the idea here is so good, and there are a lot of pieces that are really good in their collection. So I think that there's not really that far that this company has to go to be releasing an extremely stellar product. What you see here in my hands is a good product, but they have to just, I feel like, just make one or two steps to become a great product. And I feel like those are the kind of things that they could do easily. So again, I really like this conceptually. They're just doing their Kickstarter run right now and not taking new orders, which I think is really smart and responsible. And so who knows what will happen in the future with the quality of these, but I have a feeling that it's going to go up, and I'm very interested in them seeing this video, kind of seeing some of the things that I'm saying about it. I think the people that backed it on Kickstarter were very forward-seeing, and they saw the great potential of this product. And I think a lot of them will be happy and not really mind anything that I'm nitpicking these small details. Now, one thing that you can do to kind of help this glare situation is to put this perfect fit sleeve into something that has a matte finished surface. So if you put these into another sleeve, since these are a perfect fit, they fit inside of other sleeves, and if you do that and you pick one that's matte, then it'll diffract the light a little bit, and then these glares will be less obvious. Won't completely finish the problem unless the matte is applied directly to the sleeve. So that's something that you could do if you bought this product. But yeah, so review, basically, I think that these are good, and I think that anyone that buys them would kind of get a reasonable product, but they are so close to being great. They just need a matte finish, I think, bring in the art just a little bit so that it fits on more pieces more cleanly, and you know, make the art director a little bit tougher on what's submitted. They might have to spend a little bit more on art. They might have to let people go that can't make art that's up to their standards. But, you know, since what we're getting here is an art product, you really have to make sure that the art that you do get is really top of the line. Because I would say, you know, if this was submitted to an art class or something, awesome. But this is not an art class, it's a business. And so I just feel like they need to have a little bit higher quality art, you know. And the artist that made this, no disrespect, I'm sure if you went back and spent more time, this could all be rendered more cleanly. But yeah, that's part of an art director's job, is to push artists to create, you know, their best work. So that's what I have to say about this. It's pretty darn interesting. I'll put a link to their main site, and you can look through their gallery. They have something like 200 different pieces of art that they've commissioned for this, so really quite a bit. You could take a look through that. I'll put a comment that also has that. And you guys tell me what you think about this project. I think it's a pretty interesting one, and I'll see you all next video.